everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel, One Open Vortex. My name is Ani. I am an extrasensory medium, and although I'm not too crazy about the word channel, only because it brings with it all kinds of connotations and preconceived notions as to what that actually is, for the sake of simplicity, if not familiarity, I am a channel, and it's something I've developed over the course of the last 20 years, during which time I've accessed an enormous amount of information having to do with our human consciousness and how that manifests the continuum of time. However, what I am here to present to you with is for those of you who are ready to take it to the next level in terms of learning how to access your higher self, to tap into the other side, to receive information that is relevant to you. Now, we all have these abilities. We all have the ability to perceive outside of the range of what we currently do. But we bring that with us as children, but through time we forget. In my case, I have memories since I was practically a baby, really, of extrasensory experiences, and that was the case for most of us. Unfortunately, we've become very far removed from that through conditioning, societal ridicule, and shaming that comes with that, because people who see and hear things are crazy, and nobody wants that label as a child, so we veer away from that. And then you couple that with the collective conditioning of our religious past, and for some still present, as well as the Hollywood school of the occult, who has contributed greatly to our fear of the other side. And that's a topic for a whole other video. But I gotta say that has definitely scarred us in terms of trusting when we feel anything unusual, or access or tap into anything that feels outside of what we see. So with that said, we all have this innate ability that we come with to tap into more, and that connectedness that we lost was our connectedness to our higher self. Now, we've all heard of the higher self in one context or another, but it's something that we really don't know a lot about. It's kind of this vague, elusive being that resides both within and without us, that we really don't know too much about. And the reason for that rests solely on the current limitations of what we know. And what we know is determined not only by what we're taught or not taught, as the case may be, exposed to or not exposed to, as the case may be, and further playing on that is that there are many times that we have learned things that with time turn out to be untrue or inaccurate. So a lot of what we learned has come to us from those who didn't get it right in the first place. Okay, now you couple that or triple that on to our limitations of our perspective, and what that is, that's the 10% brain capacity that we hear about so much. Now, that in and of itself is a misnomer, because it insinuates that our capabilities are restricted to only 10%. But what that actually refers to is our human consciousness, and the 5 senses that fall within that small range: hearing, seeing, feeling, sensing, or smelling, tasting, fall within the narrow range of that 10%. So all that we see, all that we hear, sense, perceive, assimilate, can even identify, is whatever comes through the filter of that narrow perspective of the 10% consciousness. Now, the higher self is that other part of you that, from our perspective, lays dormant and unrecognized. That higher self is, at this point, it comes through in glimpses, via intuition, dreams, feeling about something, and just like I said, in glimpses and hints, because again, we're so far removed from it. But that higher self is actually the 90% of your consciousness, even though to us it's unconscious, that resides or is that other part of you that is unrecognized through the 10% consciousness. Now, if we only perceive 10% of what's there, let's face it, there is a lot that has gone unnoticed by us. And for example, we all hear the concept of, we're all one. We're all one. But we don't see the connectedness between you and I. We don't see what fills the space between. And I assure you, it is not a vacuum. One thing that we need to come to understand is that everything in creation, including you and me, nature, the planets, everything is energy, vibrating and oscillating at different speeds, thereby manifesting the myriad life forms in the physical world. But there are other energies that don't manifest in the physical world, or no longer manifest in the physical world, or play a role in the development of it, but don't materialize as we do, that are accessible to us at any point in time. Accessible for what? For guidance, for illumination, for answers. From anything as simple as it doesn't sound too simple, but I'll show you in a minute how it is. From anything as simple as discovering your past lives, or communicating with departed loved ones, your spirit guides, your angels, whatever you want to call them. These are all energies. And in one way, shape, or form, a form of consciousness that goes undetected by us in our regular, day-to-day, mundane way of perceiving. Now, I've got to say, this is easier than it sounds. I know. It really is. There are a lot of systems out there, and I'm not knocking everything. Everything plays a role, and I've studied many different forms of occult studies, and everything has contributed to what I know today, and what I continue learning, because it's a lifetime process of evolution, at least if you're doing it right. There's other systems out there that can take months or even years to start activating your third eye and to start seeing. I have developed a quick and simple method, because simple is always the best route, and most importantly, effective way of getting you to start stimulating that third eye so that you can receive information directly that is relevant to you. Although I am a channel, and I've been doing it for many years, I've also taught many people how to channel. My purpose here is to offer you the guidance to be able to do this yourself directly. At the end of the day, we all have teachers and mentors, and as for myself, I've been very fortunate in that in my life, people that have come into my life and have really brought a lot into my sphere of knowledge and awareness. I'm 49 now. I've been on my spiritual path since I was 18, so through all the studying and reading in groups, and I was even taught by, I had one of my mentors was an initiate into the mystery schools, was kind of a rogue and gave out information they weren't supposed to, but I am very grateful to this person to this day. So I've accumulated, and I've developed myself through different venues or avenues of information. However, nothing beats accessing higher knowledge that's specifically custom to you, particularly in the area of what your calling and what your purpose is in life. I mean, a lot of people already know that. People know what they're here to do, but for a lot of us, and I was one of those people, who always had this feeling of, well, you know, I feel like I'm here to do something, but I don't really know what it is, and I wish I knew, but I can't figure it out. How am I going to figure this out? Well, this is the perfect opportunity and a way for you to accomplish that. All information is there around us, flowing through and around us, and is available to us. You know, these energies, these frequencies are constantly moving. It's a constant flux of energy. You know, that's what imagination is. Imagination is you tapping into and accessing these frequencies. That's how people come up with ideas simultaneously around the planet. That's how trends happen on a more mundane level. That's how these energies morph and change us through time, which is how we look different through the decades and through millennia. And they not only alter us on a physical level, but also on a mental, spiritual, emotional level. And you know, we're coming to a point in the planet that unless you are particularly in denial, you cannot avoid noticing that there's a lot of changes taking place on the planet. All these changes that are taking place that we really don't have much of an understanding of. This is another way of broadening our perspective and begin to see what's going on and have a better understanding of what these changes and developments are and how that affects us, not only on an individual level, but on a, I have an ant on me, on not only on an individual level, but on a planetary collective level. Now, part of the solution that I propose to our current planetary predicament and helping improve that is if each person taps into their purpose, their calling, what they actually came here to do, and we all tap into that frequency, everything will begin to shift because it will be in a beneficial, harmonious flow with our environment. Now, speaking of the environment, you know, it really pains me a great deal when I see the suffering not only of humanity, but also of nature. The destruction that we are creating on this planet, which really we have done in earnest since the Industrial Revolution. So when you think about over the course of the last 125, 130 years, we have managed to deteriorate a life form as massive as Earth that was fine and dandy for millions and billions of years. Now, why is that happening? All the dissonance, all the turmoil, all the destruction that we experience on both individually, again, and collectively on a planetary level is in direct correlation and proportion to our disconnectedness from that higher self. One thing that we need to take into account when it comes to the planet that I don't think we're considering is that the more we break, the more the planet is going to have to repair. And how Earth does that is through natural disasters like earthquakes and hurricanes and tornadoes and tsunamis and fires and diseases that aren't introduced, that are just, you know, produced from our own ignorance and our own lack of seeing the connectedness of cause and effect of our creations and our inventions that aren't in line with a harmonious way of working in our environment. As I was saying, you know, that dissonance and that disconnect go hand in hand. It's that disconnectedness from higher self that gives us an infinite amount of of wisdom, information, guidance, light that we need on our, really need on our journey here. Like I said, that dissonance, lack of orientation really that we experience, and as I said before, but it bears mentioning again, is in direct correlation and proportion to that disconnectedness from self, which is an aspect of source. Now, and by source I mean energy with a capital E, God, creator, it all, whatever that unified force, whatever you want to refer to it as. The self is a fragment, a fraction, an aspect, a branching out, a dilution of that source, that Godhead. And that's why tuning into your higher self, which is really just a remergence with it, is what allows you to just stream pretty much anything you want to know. Now, there are many benefits to that, but one of them is if we all fall into rhythm of our own individual frequency and vibrate at optimum, things will definitely improve on the planet, and we will see rapid changes. At the end of the day, the earth is a living being. It gave birth to everything that is here: plant, animal, mineral, human, your cells, DNA, everything that is here came from and of the earth. And the earth is a highly intelligent being, and like any living being, will do whatever necessary in order to survive, thereby generating the natural disasters in an effort to try to get rid of itself of the problem that we have become. So it's very important for us to take a quantum leap in order to really I can't find the word. In order to really affect change. Okay. Now, I just want to point out, we are all a common denominator. Collectively, we're all one. But individually, we are all numerators. We are all an infinitesimal manifestation of the one. So you can see us as fractions or fragments of this whole. And to give an example that's very tangible for us to understand how it would similarly function in terms of all the infinite manifestations, yet each being commonly connected as one, yet each retaining its own uniqueness, we can look at the human body. The human body is one unit of consciousness manifested in physical form, but it is composed of an infinite amount of cells and micro consciousnesses that have a role and play a part in maintaining this universe that we are intact and functioning for the duration of your lifespan on the planet. So in the same way, we all have a unique path, we all have a unique purpose. And everything plays a role, large or small is irrelevant. Whatever your path is, whether it's to generate change and improvement for yourself, your immediate family, your community, or on a larger global scale. So whatever your calling here is, I am here to help you find it directly. I can offer you the guidance, the tools, the method, and the interpretation, because I have to tell you, the difficulty isn't into accessing. The difficulty or the challenge, let's say, comes with making sense of it all, because it is a new way of perceiving that has been dormant within us for millennia, and that's an understatement. And it's a whole new way of seeing. Again, seeing. Now, it manifests in different ways to different people. I call myself an extrasensory because I'm clairvoyant, clairsentient, and clairaudient. I hear, I see, and I feel. Depends on it, and it comes however it wants to come. We all have our own unique way of interpreting. One of my students smells energies, through synesthesia. We all have our own unique frequency channel that we tune into. It's like a wave, like a radio wave, that allows you to receive. This sort of thing is a game changer. It will afford you a completely new perspective, and the point of this is to break yourself out of the parameters, the very narrow parameters of the 10% consciousness, where you can begin to perceive more of the greater reality that we're a part of and play a role in that perhaps we have not been playing. Looking at the state of things, it doesn't look like everybody's doing their part. So, and one other thing I'd like to mention, mankind, we have self-applied this title of the most intelligent species on the planet. That's questionable, judging by the state of the world. We're also the only species on the planet that is hell-bent on destroying it and each other for no good reason, other than the ignorance of greed and power that has brought us to this point, and so many other reasons. But again, I don't mean to digress. Now, one thing that really needs addressing by all of us, and it's something I've been doing many years now, and I fought for a while because it is a process and it entails really being honest with yourself. And that is looking at the shadow side of our human psyche. Now, what that is all the fear-based emotions, thoughts, traumas, feelings, experiences that we have relegated to the subconscious by disowning and not really wanting to deal with because it's painful. It's painful. It entails, it takes humility. There's many reasons. People also are very over-identified with their beliefs, and all of these things are blockages that prevent us, again, from accessing that true self. And in order to do so, or when you do so, as you do so, it's inevitable to come across, to not come across the shadow side. And again, these are all, all these experiences that have occurred to us that go on either both inner or have occurred to us from the outer world as experiences and traumas and things we've been subjected to at the hands of other people that we have disowned, and again, don't want to go there because it's painful. However, I have to tell you that in order to really, really evolve, the shadow side must be looked at. And not only looked at, it needs to be recognized, it needs to be accepted as part of ourselves, as the stepping stone to get us to begin to understand those parts of ourselves. And in so doing, when you bring the shadow to light, it loses its power over you. The problem with disowning or disassociating, as most, it's a defense mechanism that's in place by the ego. It's a human thing, but it's not something that we cannot overcome. And the ego's a double-edged sword. The ego comes under the guise of protecting you, and at times it is necessary. At times it is necessary to kind of kick in and protect yourself. However, it's not effective when you're functioning from an ego-based state of mind. The problem with not wanting to look at the shadow, the dark side of the personality, of the self, because, like I said, it's painful, it's ugly, It's ugly. It's the ugly parts that we don't want to deal with, you know. But the problem with that is that they don't go away. What happens is worse, because what happens is those fears, and by fears I mean, you know, all these things produce symptoms from depression, rage, neuroses, all the boundless and seemingly endless manifestations of fear that bubble up through the personality, and they're going to find a way to bubble to the surface. Number one. Number two, they're going to come to you through the mirror and projection onto other people. In other words, people that will come into your life that have these things that you do not want to own and accept about yourself, that you will be having to deal with from an external source. Number two. And number three is it will always control you subconsciously. There's no way around it. So the answer is to bring it to light, address it, and again, it's a process. This is a process. It's not something that you epiphanize in one moment to the next. You're done. That can happen with certain things where you have a certain realization and you're like, wow, okay, I can let that go. But the real deep-rooted stuff, you know, the mother-father issues, the you know, everything that makes the stuff that, you know, makes us uncomfortable or uneasy about ourselves. The only way to break free of it is to own it and to really look at it and through a process of acceptance and through a relentless, because it entails really wanting to be free of these things that control us. That is the way to really not only release, but also, you know, transform or transmute it into something that has been sublimated into something beneficial. So the shadow side is something I will definitely be talking about more in depth. I think it's something that a lot of people on their spiritual path run from. Until you can't run anymore, because that's the kind of, you know, you can run but you can't hide from the shadow, because wherever you are, there it is too. So it's part of you. And then the reason being is that we live in a dual universe. This light and dark exists within us all and within everything in the cosmos. You know, everything is composed of positive, negative, day, night, light, dark, black, white, male, female. All the polarities are really two sides of one coin. So both need to be understood, and you can't have one, namely the light, exclusively without the other, which is the dark. The problem comes from our perception of that. The problem that we face with that is that, again, leads us back to our fear of the dark and having had that ingrained in us on many levels. But, you know, I don't want to get too into that. Again, that's going to be a real important video, and I hope to get to that one sooner than later, because I think it's very important. With that said, the purpose of all these weekly videos that I'm going to be uploading for you are really with the intent of getting you to really step into your conscious evolution, okay? And those of you that are really ready to see and to understand more, not only of the outer world, but of the inner world, because they go hand in hand. Again, one cannot exist without the other in our third dimensional perspective and realm. And all of this will play a role in really opening up the boundaries of your ways of perceiving. And it's, like I said, it's a game changer. It changes everything in a really good way. And for those of you who don't like change, I need to touch upon this. You know, we always hear that the only constant is the constant of change, and that is a very valid axiom. The flux of change is inevitable for those that take pride of being fixed in their ways. All that is saying is that you're not growing, you're not evolving, you're not becoming anything greater than the limited being that you have settled for. And we're all capable of so much more. Now, I'd like to let you know I offer private guided sessions to really get you to channel first time. It happens quickly if you're open and you're ready. And now I want to specify this is channeling from the vantage point of the observer. Okay, you don't lose consciousness. And I just want to say this: there's for us, there's 3 different ways that we channel as human beings. A lot of us do it on a daily basis and aren't even aware of it. There's the way where you get an inspiration or an idea and you run with it. You either, create art or music or poetry, you write, or you manifest this creativity and this idea in some way, shape, or form. And then the second way, which is how I function and how it works for me, is you open up your awareness, and what it feels like is you just feel like more of you. And you feel an energetic that kind of merges with your consciousness, but you're always aware and you're always in control. Nothing happens to you. And then there's the way that people that channel for other people for consultations, that they lose consciousness because it's just too much information that has nothing to do with them for them to retain throughout their life when they're basically counseling for somebody. So those are the ones that lose consciousness. But the method that I provide is a simple method. It's a meditative countdown method where it'll take you to an alpha state rather quickly, and you're gonna start seeing. You can ask to see your guides. You can ask to see whatever comes up to you. For each person, it's different, and I work with you individually based on where you're at, as far as what you've experienced so far. For whether you're at 0. Has never experienced something like this before, whether you have some experience already in the realm of channeling. So if you'd like to schedule a private guided session with me, contact me at 1openvortex. That's the number 1openvortex @gmail.com. I currently don't have a website yet. I'm working on that. Hopefully that'll be up at some point. I've got a lot going on. But in the interim, you can contact me via email. I invite you to share, comment. I'd love to hear from you. Any suggestions or questions or comments that you have. I would also love it if you would subscribe to my channel. Just press the red subscribe button. I'm not sure which side it's on, underneath the screen. As you all know, it's free, and you'll be getting regular notifications whenever I post up one of my videos, which will be, again, weekly. So that's it for now. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your time. And, tune in. You might just hear and see something you've never been exposed to before. So until next time, peace, freedom, and keep evolving. I'll see you next week.